Hello everybody and welcome to Forever Cricket on Forever Sports for our day one wrap-up, South Africa versus Pakistan. What a day of cricket it really was. And I think a lot of South African supporters very upset and very disappointed at the batting that went on. But then the response with the ball has meant that South Africa are pretty much on top after day one in Karachi in the first test in Pakistan since 2007. A 14-year hiatus has come to an end. And it's really good to actually be playing with Pakistan. And it's a really good learning curve for these players who have never, a lot of them have never played in these conditions. You know, in fact, we played a bit of Pakistan Super League towards the end of last year, or the year before rather, but I mean, that was pretty much it really. And so it's a big learning curve for a lot of players. And I think the batsmen in particular will need to look at themselves in the mirror and think that they did let the side down largely, aside from Dean Algo, who continues to be a stalwart at the top of the order. Before we look at the scorecard and exactly what transpired, please do subscribe to the channel. Bottom right-hand corner there, smash a like. Please also turn on your notifications so that you never miss a moment. Smash like in the video as well if you like this sort of content. Right, so South Africa won the toss for a change and elected to bat, which is interesting because I think it's, the majority of teams who lose the toss and bowl first actually go on to win in Karachi. It's also a powerhouse for for Pakistan. They have only lost 2 tests at the ground in their history. And I think the last one was something in like 2001, you know. So it is a very, very big ground for them. And you got people like Babar Azam who averages like 250 in Pakistan before today. But we did win the toss. We did bat first. And we sent out Dean Alga and Aiden Markham. And Dean Alga is in such good nick at the moment. You know, we talk about the form he was in a couple of years ago when he was the 3rd leading run scorer in the world in the calendar year. And I tell you what, he's so settled with himself. He knows his game. He knows where scoring areas are. I think he'll be frustrated because I think he did toss his wicket a little bit, but he was very, very good for 58 off 106 deliveries. A strike rate of 54. A typical Dean Alga innings, you know. Where it was there to be punished, he did. But by and large, sort of rotated the strike and kept it ticking over. He hit 9 fours, no 6s. Not too many chances he took, so it was a very good innings. Aiden Markham, well, it's becoming very characteristic of Aiden Markham. He's got a terrible average in Asia where he looked brilliant. He looked in such good nick. He played a booming cover drive, looked really good, and then it edges off to, well, a second slip that took the catch. It was a great catch by debutant Imran Butt, who dived in front of the first slip to take it. But, you know, and that's the problem. And it once again raises the question, is Aiden Markham an opener? Should we be persisting him as an opener? I mean, you look at the shots he plays. He is a stroke player. He's an aggressive batsman. You've got to wonder, does he have the patience? Does he have the defensive nature and the sound technique to open the batting? Look, I mean, in terms of technique, he's got a fantastic technique. He's very good straight to the wicket. But I do sort of wonder, should he not be coming in at 4, you know, where he doesn't necessarily have to face out the new ball, which does do a little bit early, but we come onto it, it's a little bit deader, and then really take on the seamers. The problem is also, much like the entire South African lineup, doesn't play spin particularly well, but very disappointed that once again he gets a start. I mean, 13 of 16 deliveries, a strike rate of 81. Always looks to be aggressive, but he's just not coming off often enough. And it is a problem because we can't be sitting, you know, 30 for 1 every test, despite it being after a couple of overs. You know, the strike rate's not important. The run rate's not important. I think that was the sort of the issue across the innings, not being patient enough. Rassie van der Dussen looked very organised. He always does. You know, another player, because he's so experienced in first-class cricket, not necessarily test cricket, he knows his game. And looked very good, and then ran himself out just for nothing, really, for 17 or 30. Another batsman, another start. Fat Duplessis then did a lot of groundwork to try and rebuild an innings for 23 or 46 before he got caught. And then Quinton de Kock, and I'm very worried about Quinton de Kock, and because the problem is I think that we've labelled him our star batsman. He's our wicketkeeper, he's the captain. And as a result, he's moved down to 5. And I don't think he should be batting 5. I really don't. I understand why, because, you know, you look at him, he's such a free-flowing player. But the problem is that when you have a couple of early wickets, you know, his patience is the issue. And today, it was poor. He's the worst wicket today. I think if you look, him and Rassie van der Dussen were absolutely needless. Temple Bavuma, to a certain degree, was a very good run-out and was pretty close. But Quinton de Kock was a simple, just no patience, you know, where he got himself to 15 or 23, looked really good, and then just played across the line, hack really, and got caught in mid-wicket. It was so needless, especially given the situation. We really needed him to dig deep and just take his time, and he didn't do that. And then Temple Bavuma did do that. He had a nice partnership with George Lindy, and Bavuma was on 17 of 67, so a very slow strike rate. But in the situation, it was exactly what we needed, and we really needed Bavuma to kick on. And I think this is a massive test for him. And if he doesn't score runs in the second innings, I think you could see a Keegan Peterson, a Kyle Verreynne come into the side, because I think he is under a lot of pressure. So is Eddie Markham, I think. I think both of them, you know, if you look at their last sort of 10 test innings, they're averaging about, I think Markham's averaging 18 and Bavuma's averaging about 21. So it's not really good enough. So they are on the chopping block. You know, Eddie Markham just being recalled to the side as well. So, you know, it's so 50-50 with them at the moment. And then George Lindy looked very, very good. I think it was an interesting option that sounds like George Lindy was pretty much playing instead of Tabraiz Shamsi, who had a back spasm, although there are conflicting reports in the fact that there could have been 3 spinners. But, yeah, so George Lindy made 35-64 and looked very good. He's taken test cricket quite easily, but he is very experienced. I mean, for all we sit there saying the youngster is 29 years old. He's been playing franchise cricket for a decade, you know. He's very experienced. And then Keshav Maharaj for a duck wasn't what we needed. But then, thankfully, we did have a bit of a tail that wagged. Kagiso Rabada decided to go on the offensive. You know, you could see he will always play shots. That is Rabada. He will always play shots. But then when Nandan Nokia went also for a duck, then he decided with Lungi Ngidi on the other end, he's not going to hang around. And he hit 21 off 36. And Ngidi actually contributed with some very nice shots. And he got 8 to get South Africa up to 220, which was probably about 30-40 runs shy of where we needed. I think a Spurs score of 250, 260 puts a bit of pressure on Pakistan. They then have to go and actually apply themselves. You know, you don't get to 260, 270 unless one of the two batsmen does take a bit of responsibility. In terms of the bowlers, and this is where it gets frustrating, spin continuously plaguing South Africa. Yasir Shah was brilliant for his 3 wickets, just economy of 2.45 in his 22 overs. He just, around the clock, you know, South Africa just couldn't read him. I mean, the Faf du Plessis delivery was a gorgeous ball. But South Africa just can't play spin. Naumin Ali also on debut, he took 2 wickets. So 5 wickets lost to spin, 2 run outs, 2 to Shaheen Afridi, and 1 to Hassan Ali, who started off very poorly and then got a lot better in a second spell. But yeah, as I said, it was largely frustrating. I think patience is a major issue for South Africa, because I just don't think our batsmen are willing to dig deep. You look at somebody like a Pujara for India. Yes, he's got a very slow strike rate. You know, he usually has a strike rate of sort of 25, 35, you know, type thing. But he is willing to just grind it out and grind the opposition team into the ground. Let them play for a day. Go into the change room sore and tired after a long day and have to come out the next day. That's the important thing when it comes to Test cricket, you know. And that's why India won that and took that last Test to 5 days. The reason we're not seeing Test go to 5 days is because batsmen are too worried about strike rate and the run rate and are losing patience, you know. And a run rate of 3.17 is great, but rather have a slower run rate and have been in there. You know, I'd rather South Africa be sort of 200, 220 at the end of the day, going at sort of 2 and over, 2.5 and over, even 180, 190. So for a 4 or 5, where you can kick on tomorrow and build a foundation where Quinton de Kock should be, in my opinion, should be coming at sort of 6, 7. Can then go be a bit aggressive towards the back end of the innings and add a sort of 30, 40 and get yourself up to about 300. But having said all that, despite the sort of negative reaction, South Africa started brilliantly. Kagiso Rabada, I mean, what a day it was for him. I mean, he's the 4th highest scorer with 21, and then came in and it took a brilliant dismissal to get Abid Ali. I mean, completely cast him. What a delivery that was. He then got Imran Butt as well. So dismissed both openers and finished. I mean, he finished with stats of 6 overs, 3 maidens, 8 runs, 2 wickets for 1.3. He is 1 wicket shy of reaching 200 Test wickets. He will be the 4th youngest person to do so at this rate. So Rabada, I mean, at a different class. Anrich Nortje looked solid at the beginning, you know, suddenly it was struggling to sort of create many chances, but he then did bowl Shaheen Afridi as a night watchman, a very nice delivery there. And then Lungi Ngidi, no wickets for him, but it was quite economical, only bowled 3 overs. And then Keshav Maharaj got the big wicket of Babar Azam. So Pakistan finished with 33 for 4. So you got to look at there and say, if you can go and get Azhar Ali out tomorrow morning, that is the danger man. You can get him early. You know, South Africa are right in this Test match. And that's why Test cricket's a weird one. And you can sit there and say 220. And I mean, people were slamming the batting lineup. And then 2 hours later, you're thinking, right, well, suddenly we're a bit on top. So this is why I always say Test cricket, you know, it ebbs and flows. So I think it was a disappointing batting lineup. And I think South Africa were about 40 to 60 runs shy of where they kind of should have been. But equally then, it was a brilliant bowling performance. And that's the stuff we've got to celebrate. So South Africa probably definitely on top at this stage, especially if they can get Azhar Ali. Pakistan trail by 187 runs. They will start off tomorrow on 33. Azhar Ali and Fawad Alam in the crease. Hazard Ali is on 5 off 40, taking his time on strike rate of just 12. Fawad Alam is on 5 off 3 deliveries, so we won 4. So, yeah, that's how it ends. Let me know what you thought of the first day down below. It should be quite a good test match. It would be fantastic. If South Africa can win a test match and just break the sort of records, it will be a huge watershed moment. It means that they can't lose the series. It means that they've beaten Pakistan in their sort of backyard, in their hunting ground. It will be a huge statement by a very inexperienced South African side. So a big 4 days ahead for the South Africans. But let me know what you thought of the game, and I'll be back tomorrow with another wrap-up of day 2. So thank you very much for watching. My name is Stephen, and I'll chat to you soon.